Hello everyone and welcome. It's a pleasure to have you all here for today's masterclasses, Mastering Digital Transformation, Case Studies, Strategies, and Expert Insights. My name is Thaisa Figueroa. I'm Institutional Manager here at Ziggurat, and I'm thrilled to be your host for today's session. And for those who may not be familiar with us, Ziggurat is an online educational institution with over 20 years of experience in e-learning. We offer master's and postgraduate programs in architecture, engineering, and tech management, helping professionals worldwide advance in their careers. And we are proud of our diverse and dynamic community with over than 20,000 students from 120 countries. And before we move forward, let's make today's session interactive. We want to hear from you, so please share with us in the chat from which city are you joining us today, and what do you hope to gain from this session? Let's make this an engaging and dynamic experience together. And thank you for participating. And now I'm pleased to introduce our speakers for today, Tim Mitchell, who is digital transformation and CX leader in the Cadena Growth Partners and also alumni of Ziggurat. And we have also James Basha, who is CEO at Entrepreneurs and also his professor here at Ziggurat. A quick note for our audience. If you have any questions, please feel free to drop them in the chat and we will address them during the Q&A session at the end, okay? And now let's welcome our first speaker, Tim Mitchell. Tim, thank you so much to be with us today. Tim will present a practical case study on launching an AI-powered supply chain business, sharing keys learnings from his MBA. This is a great example of a digital transformation in action. So, Tim, thank you so much, and the floor is all yours.
Excellent. Thank you so much, Taisa, and good evening to everyone. It's great to be back with the Ziggurat community and always love engaging on these topics around learning, particularly in the space of digital transformation. So a little bit of background to introduce myself before we kick off. Please do feel free to connect with me, and I'd love to hear more about your learning journeys in the space of digital transformation. I'm the digital transformation and customer experience leader at Cadena Growth Partners, and we are a South African-based management consultancy business specializing on growth and modernization. So helping to unlock new sources of growth for many of the blue chip organizations that we work with through new sources of revenue. Practically, what that looks like is often building new digital experiences, new digital products, and sometimes even new digital businesses for many of our clients. And I'll talk to you about one of those new digital businesses that we recently launched in this lecture this evening. The other side is on modernization, and it's what a lot of organizations refer to as digital transformation, basically using technology to help a business do what they already do better, faster, and smarter through the use of exponential technology like artificial intelligence, cloud, Internet of Things, and blockchain. So very excited to be here. And in particular focus for the conversation that we'll be having this evening, I'll be talking to you about quite an exciting business that I had the fortune of launching here in South Africa last year. And it was just so that the timing was perfect after my MBA that I was able to apply a lot of the learnings that I gained through the Ziggurat Global MBA in digital transformation. And as you'll know, there's a large focus of the MBA program on artificial intelligence. And this is something exciting. It's something that we're experiencing more and more in our day-to-day lives from a personal perspective as well as a business perspective. And this particular business that I'll talk to you about had that focus of artificial intelligence built into it as well, which made it a really exciting learning experience for myself, for my clients, and many of the customers that we work with on a day-to-day basis as a result of this solution. So perhaps before I dive into the detail, just a little bit of background on the opportunity or the problem statement that we were given from our clients. Now, this is a very well-known technology client in South Africa. They operate across the South African region as well as a few areas across the rest of Africa. And for confidentiality reasons, I won't mention their name today or the name of the new product that they've mentioned. But I can give you some good understanding of the solution that they've launched in market and the journey that I walked with them to launch that new business. So the opportunity that we had with them was that we were running a growth program. It's a growth program that we've worked with them on for the past 2.5 years. And within that growth program, we were focused on launching new businesses. So how do we take something from idea through to conceptualization? So concept to commercialization extremely rapidly. And there's a very well-governed process that we run, a progressive and iterative process using some of the best principles from the Agile methodology and some of the best principles from innovation and growth that helps us to look at how do we take this concept, just an idea. And initially we started with just a small value proposition that our team worked on and spent a short 2-week period investigating and researching, shared it to a steering committee, a little bit like a Dragon's Den pitch, if you imagine it that way, and got their feedback to say, yes, this is what we love about it. This is what we're worried about. This is what you need to research further. Can you go and do a full-on value proposition to investigate this opportunity for us? So that's what we set out to do. The step that followed was then to say, well, how do we move this into the next step? And how do we build out a full business case of the solution in supply chain? So I'll tell you a little bit more about that process that we walked in just a moment and how it links to the overall MBA experience. But first, let me share a little bit about what is the solution? What did we come up with? So the solution that we launched is what is known as a supply chain visibility platform. So it's very much focused on the end-to-end supply chain. And the problem statement that we were given was basically to say, there are a lot of clients that exist in South Africa and around the world who are trying to track their cargo. So, every time we get products delivered to our house, that is the last mile. We only see the final end of the supply chain as a consumer, but there's a large portion of that supply chain that happens prior to that in the mid-mile, sorting out a lot of the visibility between ports and distribution centers, as well as the first mile, which is essentially all of the processes that go into the raw materials, the manufacturing, and then the distribution around the world through multimodal transport. So we're talking about air freight through to shipping, through to land transports on road and rail. And we needed something that is comprehensive, that gives a supply chain director or supply chain leader visibility of where their cargo is at any site across the journey. So there are a few problems that we set out to solve, and you can see them on the left-hand side of the screen. It's everything from theft of cargo and losing stock. A lot of organizations that move a lot of cargo around the world are struggling to figure out where their stock is at any given moment, and sometimes lose track completely of their stock. It's chain of custody tracking. How do you figure out who's responsible for the cargo as it moves from mode of transport to mode of transport or from location to location? It's solving the problem of visibility across the extended supply chain. So how can I see in real time where my goods are moving at any time of the day or where my assets are moving at any time of the day? Inaccurate estimations on ETAs and delayed proof of delivery is another significant one. So how do I know when my goods are going to arrive, and how can I plan my business better around that ETA that it will arrive? And when it does arrive, how can I get proof that it has indeed arrived in the condition and the place that it's meant to be at the right time? And then, of course, high penalties due to delays. A lot of the ports charge a lot of money for late shipments or late arrivals. So it's important to make sure that you can be completely meticulous around your planning. And finally, just significant cargo damage and spoilage. You can imagine, particularly in industries where you're moving cargo that is temperature sensitive or has a limited shelf life, perhaps fresh groceries, as an example, fresh produce, or medicine that needs to be stored at a very specific temperature, or chemicals that are very sensitive to certain conditions. These are the types of cargo that you're able to track in real time and manage their condition by monitoring the temperature, the UV index, the overall shock or tilt of that item, and making sure that it is well looked after. So the approach we took was to say, how can we create a solution that gives better visibility, gives you real-time alerts and signals, and then provides you with intelligence. So not only do you have that visibility on a map to see where your goods are, but you're also able to move to a state where you have this insight and this foresight to create better business decisions and those types of interventions, initiatives that will help you ultimately on the right-hand side to drive improved growth in your business, improve the productivity of your assets, improve the experience for your employees and for your customers, and ultimately reduce risk. So that's essentially the product that we set out to build. And the process that we took, I alluded to it earlier, we take a very progressive approach, and it's an innovation framework that is signature to Cadena Growth Partners. And we walk this journey with our clients. They're a large business, but they wanted to launch essentially a small startup within their large business environment. So we started with an initial value proposition. That was the rapid investigation that we did into the market, did the Dragon's Den pitch. They were happy, but they wanted us to explore a few areas a bit further. So we developed that into a value proposition, which was a slightly more detailed exploration. It looked specifically at the revenue potential. Is this going to be big enough? Is it worth us investigating? And is there an actual execution pathway? Do we need to build this technology? Can we partner with someone? Do we need to acquire it? Those were the types of decisions that we set out to investigate. Finally, we then moved that to a business case. And this was essentially a bankable business case that the executive committee were able to say, we understand the commercials, we understand the risks involved, and we understand the overall capabilities that we need to execute an artificial intelligence supply chain visibility business here in the South African market. So with that, we moved on to the next stage to say, great, we have an approved business case. Now, how do we execute on this? And in our case, we took a partnership approach. So we spent some time investigating the market leaders globally in the supply chain visibility space and found a brilliant company headquartered in Silicon Valley in the United States with market-leading technology and tried and tested case studies in the space. And we engaged with them to find a way forward to make a partnership, essentially that allows them to enter the South African market, but for our clients to be able to wrap around some of their capabilities, some of their technology, some of their skills that they already have to create a new product, a new offering that is a first of its kind in the South African market. So that partnership came together. There are a lot of components that I'll speak about that lean on the MBA journey and a lot of learnings that I had the fortune of experiencing. And it ultimately got us to launch a proof of concept. So we came up with the initial solution, and it was something that we tested on a small scale. We ran a pilot with about 5 clients in South Africa, and they were on board with the learning journey alongside us, saying that, we see the benefit, we love the idea of the solution. Can you help us to implement it? And through that, we can make sure that we improve it and we get your feedback as a client to make that solution even better over time. So that pilot was a great success. We learned a lot. We improved the product. And from there, we said, great, we have a business on our hands. Clients are willing to pay for this. We can see that the results are great in the market. Let's start to build this business. And this is where number 6, the HR and talent journey started. So we went out to define the profile of the ideal leader to lead this business. We went out and did some sourcing. We interviewed some great candidates who are supply chain leaders in South Africa and ran an assessment with them as well. So they went through quite a rigorous case study process. And ultimately, we appointed the right leader to lead the business, who is now to this day in his role as a leader of South Africa's first of its kind AI supply chain visibility business. From there, we needed to come up with a bit of a brand and do some marketing. So we developed a brand new brand identity. We came up with a marketing plan and some marketing campaigns and tactics to target a very specific B2B user. So this isn't a B2C solution, it's specifically for business users. And we set out to target a lot of the supply chain leaders, like a chief supply chain officer or a head of logistics of large businesses in South Africa, through targeted online campaigns as well as in-person demos and in-person engagements in a roundtable environment. So many of the supply chain leaders in South Africa are now the prospects and the clients that we engage with on a daily basis. From there, we needed to drive business development and sales. This is a software as a service solution that has been created, and it needs to be sold through more of a consultative approach. So it's not something you can just sell off the shelf as is, but we configure it and shape it specific to the use cases and the needs of our clients. And in doing that, we have the role of taking a business development approach that works alongside the client to understand what are the biggest challenges that they have in their supply chain, where are the inefficiencies, the bottlenecks, and the opportunities to add value. And then we would structure demos and introductory sessions with them and eventually run pilots so that they can not only understand and think of the value, but they can see a proof of value. So in selling that proof of value to them, we then have the opportunity to scale the business and reach more and more clients through the solution, which has been a really exciting journey. So essentially those steps 1 to 9 have been the path that we've walked. And the question you have is probably, well, what does this have to do with my MBA? And what does this have to do with my learning journey? And that's exactly where this visual over here comes into practice. And those numbers that you can see on screen, numbers 1 to 10, are roughly the modules that we focused on in our MBA journey with Ziggurat. And I must say, for each and every one of these elements, there was at least one learning that I took away from the MBA that I was able to apply in real life. And to me, that is the beauty of learning. You know, there's no shortage of content and material online, but the ability to apply that material and to make it practical in a real business environment is where the magic of an MBA comes to life. And certainly for me, the reason as to why I participated in that MBA. So if I just go through these really quickly before we wrap up and have a bit of a discussion with James around some of the key findings, I'll start just by sharing some key highlights that I was able to experience in this process. And module number 1, this is actually a module that James leads on the mindset of an entrepreneur. It's that combination of being a lifelong learner, but having the willpower and the temperament of a business leader to be an entrepreneur and drive your own journey forward. So embracing that mindset of a business builder and applying rapid learning into this new sector to see where you can use your deep domain expertise, but in a brand new sector, to inspire and create a new business is what I took away from it, and was certainly helpful in this journey that we took in launching the supply chain business. In terms of business models, learning how to understand the difference between a new type of business, a very scalable software as a service business model, along with the different costing and pricing elements that come with that. How can we make it a worthwhile product to invest in and scale in the South African market? In terms of digital maturity and innovation, we spent a lot of time scanning the supply chain market landscape and essentially looking for digitally mature growth stage businesses that we could partner with to launch this business. And eventually what we came up with and what we found was a brilliant Silicon Valley based business, which spoke to, the value in partnering with the best of breed, going out there and finding someone who is very deeply experienced in the space and using their expertise in a partnership that becomes a win-win for both parties. I mentioned a bit about the human resources. This was all about appointing that managing executive who is now the leader of this business and runs it on a day-to-day basis. And he is now starting to grow his own team, which is something we were able to give input into from a capability perspective and talent profiling, helping with sourcing, interviewing, setting up case studies, and essentially designing the perfect team that will help to execute this business in the market. Then in terms of marketing and sales, day-to-day operations across different functions, this involves how do we look after the different components, touching onto operations very quickly before marketing. Day-to-day operations for all functions. So this is managing the hardware and the software that's involved. It's looking after IT, HR, marketing, technology, customer success, and helping clients to get the most out of the solution. And then onto that marketing one, it's establishing your go-to-market approach, which is really at the intersection of use cases and key sectors that can benefit from a solution like this. And then positioning marketing campaigns and tactics that help to address those market needs. Then number 7, one that was a great learning for me, creating a financial model. So how do you build that initial top-down view to know that there's enough value in this market that's worthwhile exploring, and then build a bottom-up model that actually starts to predict the type of revenue that you could achieve through targeting specific customers in the South African market. Coming towards the end, number 8, looking at IT, specifically the integration of existing hardware and software that our clients had access to, but with the integration of third-party ERP systems, warehouse management systems, transport management systems, such that it is a fully integrated and interoperable solution. And then the accelerators, this is maybe my favorite part. This is where the clever artificial intelligence and Internet of Things gadgets and technology comes into play. The AI side was fascinating to me. It's basically uses a system that focuses on data triangulation. So the hardware sensors are able to track your location, your condition, things like your temperature, UV index, shock or tilt, and it blends that data with external data like weather, weather conditions or crime incidents that have happened in the area, or traffic that is happening around your neighborhood. And it blends that data together to give you active recommendations on how you can better plan the routes for your cargo, or how you can better look after theft prevention and make sure that your goods don't go missing, how you can better plan your fleet. So these sort of outcomes are quite amazing in terms of what you can achieve through that artificial intelligence and the Internet of Things sensors that connect to the cloud to bring it together. And then finally, future impacts. With every business in this modern age, it's important to think about some of the environmental concerns. So a lot of the customers and clients who are concerned with ESG reporting, reducing their carbon footprint by planning their fleet better, and also reducing any waste. So a lot of the goods that they transport are prone to spoilage, if it's in the wrong condition or if it's a sensitive good that is temperature sensitive. So we help with provenance to make sure that there's less environmental impact. And for the future of our planet, these types of solutions are sustainable. So I'm going to leave it there and just share 4 key takeaways. Why was my MBA journey an exciting one, and how has it allowed me to apply these sort of learnings as recommendations or insights to think about, perhaps for those who are embarking on their own MBA journey. The first one is to engage deeply. So I found the best MBA learnings came from the discussions, the debates, meeting with my colleagues, applying some of the thinking and the learnings in our day-to-day jobs, rather than just PowerPoint slides. You can find PowerPoint slides anywhere online, but your ability to apply those learnings is going to be the game changer. I always say, number 2, challenge convention. Ask some tough questions. Ask your professors and your lecturers like James some really tough questions that help to have a two-way discussion and debate and apply new thinking, new technologies, and new challenges. The beauty of an MBA is that it's a safe space to experiment. It's a safe space to challenge, which I really enjoyed. Number 3, it's an opportunity to apply learning daily. So not only do you have these ideas or these concepts that you can apply one day in the future, but each and every day you can take these bite-sized learnings and test them out in your work environments or in discussions with your colleagues or with your classmates. And it really helps you to see how this applies to different aspects of our economy globally. And then the last one, stay engaged. Part of the process that you go through in the MBA is building your professional network and building your own creative and career capital. So that opportunity to apply your learnings and stay engaged with your colleagues, with your professors, and look for opportunities to engage in the MBA community, whether it's giving back through education or helping your teams back at work or other classmates who are going through the MBA journey in future. Really great to just stay connected to that MBA community that you're able to set up, and they become lifelong contacts. I can promise you that. Many of my classmates and many of my professors and lecturers are people that I love to stay in touch with through to this day. So those are my key learnings and perhaps the journey that I walked, and very excited to engage if there are any questions. James and I are going to engage in a little bit of a discussion to maybe unpack some of the more learnings that we had in the space.
That was great, Tim. Thank you so much. Now I'd like to invite James Basha, our Professor James, to join Tim for an insightful discussion. So James, please join us. Thank you. And it's over you and Tim now, okay? Thank you so much.
Well, great to be here. Thank you very much. Great job, Tim. And it's also great to see some of the ex-students that they did the MBA, over the years. And Tim, I just want to congratulate you the amazing work that you're doing. Ever since I met you, I mean, you've come so far. So congratulations. Well, I'm James. As you were saying, I'm the founder and CEO of Entrepreneurs. Entrepreneurs is a SaaS platform for medium, large companies. Basically, what we do, we help companies hire the candidates or people that truly fit in their culture, and whether the candidate is hired or not, they take something very, very valuable with them. So you have them. And also, we help the companies to identify and develop the true skills of every single employee. So again, if you want to connect, we can connect in LinkedIn, and we can talk about more things. Tim, I just want to come back to you. It's great the way you explained the project, the roadmap. Absolutely love the roadmap. It was very clear, and the steps that you've taken to take it from the ideation to execution, and at the end, just taking it to the clients. I think it's an amazing. It's part of, when you're in a startup, I think you've covered all of those. So you ticked all the boxes. So the question I have for you, in this journey, what were some of the challenges that you faced, and how did you overcome? I think it'd be great. I mean, for me to learn from you, but also I'm sure we could benefit from many people. And then later, I have a couple of questions written here about the master and how this will help you in the journey. So it'd be great if you can share some of the challenges.
Absolutely. So of course it came with its fair share of challenges and learnings, and that's all part of the journey. For me, I think there's a common theme with the types of challenges that I faced, something to do with bringing different building blocks together. And sometimes those building blocks don't quite fit the way you want them to, so you need to be creative in how you bring them together. And this played out in a number of different ways. Some examples would include, the technology that we're looking at. Our clients already had some of their own technology, and the startup company that we worked with globally had some beautiful, amazing technology that we wanted to incorporate and integrate. And in theory, it makes complete sense that it should just be plug and play, completely interoperable. But in reality, there's a bit of work that needs to be done to bring it to life. Maybe some of the other ones in terms of that building block methodology, things like creating a partnership agreement, everything from getting both parties to see eye to eye, to get both parties to get really excited about the journey to partner, and to get both parties to align on a win-win scenario where it's in the best interests of both parties. And of course, there needs to be then the legal component that sits behind that to reinforce a lot of those commercial principles and constructs that lead the good spirits of the partnership agreement that we came up with. I mean, there are many other examples, from HR to day-to-day operations to financial modeling, but generally just the challenge of bringing those disparate pieces together.
Well, that's great. I mean, overcoming those challenges, I think, is a challenge in itself. No, so that's excellent. Just a quick question. It's related to MBA. At what point in in your career you said to yourself, "Hey, I think I want to do an MBA"? I mean, was there a moment that you thought, because I remember when I did something many years ago, there was a moment that for you, what was it?
Yeah, it was almost like a slow process. I don't think there was a defining moment in my case, and it almost happened by accident, if I put it that way.
Okay,
And
well, yes, just write it down.
I had some experience with some of the business schools in South Africa. There's a great business school called Gibbs Business School, and for a long time have collaborated with some of the professors and lecturers there, and given some guest lectures on my area of expertise. So I had the opportunity to engage a lot more with students at that business school and heard more about their experiences, what they loved, what they're able to apply in the workspace afterwards. And I thought, I don't know if this is for me, but I'm curious. I want to learn more. I want to understand more. And I was actually in the process of trying to research and investigate some more specialized short courses that I could maybe do. And I was looking specifically in the space of digital transformation, which is what I myself and my consultancy focuses on, and stumbled across the Zigguraat's global MBA specializing in digital transformation. So I thought, hang on, this looks interesting. I didn't think I'd do an MBA, but I want to learn more. And at the time, I was actually, maybe the moment that was the most defining was that I did a bit of research to see if there was anyone in my network who had graduated from Zigguraat. And sure enough, I found a client who's a very good contact and friend of mine and works for quite a prominent South African business. And he had completed the MBA the previous year through Zigguraat. He's the CFO of an organization. So I reached out to him and he shared a bit more about his experience. It was great for him. He got to apply a lot of those learnings and actually used a case study. He's in the retail space, so fashion retail, and was able to apply the findings from his MBA into a real life case study. And to me, I said, this sounds so exciting. I'm sold. If I can apply these learnings in my day-to-day job, then sign me up.
Very good. I'll follow up on that, some of the things that you applied in your everyday job. I want to say what I said for me was it was a point that when I decided to do something, it was not an MBA, but it was an executive program. That at some point in my career, I was working. I'd been working for many years, but I felt I had reached a point that I didn't know how to take myself to a next level. All right. And for me, I was thinking, what can I do? And that was the light bulb. I said, okay, I need the theory. All right. Because I was doing things, but just running around like headless chicken sometimes. And then it was a great, well, for me, it was a great experience that I did this program. And then it just opened my eyes in a way. And then one thing that they asked me the other day, what did you learn from that experience? There was one thing that did, and it always stuck with me, that after doing an MBA or one of those programs, I think 360. Before I was thinking just in my thing, but now when I speak to I don't know, the finance guys in my team, I know what they're talking about, marketing. So I have a general picture. So it was an eye opener. So it was good, and that's why, and I got a lot from it. So now going back to it, you said that what were some of the things that you learned, and you said, okay, you applied in your, I don't know, daily routine or your workplace or at work. What were some of the things they think, okay, that one I'm gonna some of the highlights
to me that was something great, the ability to apply it. And I think, as you said, when the light bulbs go off, for me those light bulbs go off when not only can I understand the learning and I can see how it relates elsewhere in the world, but where I can take an idea or take a learning and test it out, practically try and see how it works within a business environment that I'm working in. And there were maybe two categories that played out. The one was more around frameworks and approaches. So, it's something like the Double Diamond framework is a great example of that, which looked at, a human-centered design approach to building new products. And it's something that I've been able to apply not only once or twice as an experiment, but on a repeatable basis. So that's a tool that I love to keep nearby and make use of. And also something that a lot of my project teams and clients find a lot of joy in learning about and applying in their own work environments. So that's sort of your toolkit that you're able to build. On the other side, it was maybe more your practical knowledge. And a good example of that was actually one of the operations modules specifically on supply chain. And at the time that I was doing my MBA, I thought, this is very interesting stuff, but I've never worked in supply chain before, so I don't think I'll ever get the chance to use this. And then sure enough, about a year later, I had the opportunity to help launch a supply chain business. And I was glad I took lots of notes in those lectures. But again, the value from those lectures, and we had an amazing lecturer who was covering this particular topic on supply chain. The focus was that he said, look, I'm not going to come and present PowerPoint slides to you. They're all uploaded on the portal. You can download them. You can read them in your own time. I'll give you some case studies. You should read those case studies. And when we come into the classroom, we're going to debate. We're going to discuss, and he'll put you on the spot, which I loved. So he'd sometimes pick on me. He'd sometimes pick on my classmates, but would really engage in an interactive discussion, which helped me to learn from my classmates, for them to learn from me, and just to see different perspectives that people had picked up in the different way that they had interpreted the material. So that to me is magic. That's how an MBA should be. The more you can apply these learnings and engage on them with very smart people from all around the world, that's where the magic really happens.
Absolutely. Okay. I remember when I teach, and I love especially, I remember in your group as well, you are the one that you always ask questions. And I always say, you need to be intentional, no? Whatever you're studying,
yes.
But especially here. And I always say, be a pest. I mean, you need to go after the teachers, and just, because you want to get the most out of them. I always say, just be a pest, be annoying.
Exactly.
Really.
And James, I think there was something maybe in different words. Maybe I'm paraphrasing, but a lesson that I remember that you shared with us right at the beginning of the MBA, something along the lines of, all of us who are here in the classroom have all paid good money to come and attend the MBA, but different people will get a different amount out of it. And it's up to you as a student how much you'd like to extract out of that MBA.
No, but I always say, and I think you used exact words I was saying. So just to be intentional. Also, it's our job as a lecturer. It's my job to make it as interesting as I can. But also as a student, it's my job to go that extra mile. Okay. And also the good thing with MBA, it gives you a general view of all the topics. Obviously, you're gonna like some more than the others, etc., etc. But also it says, okay, well, this is the topic that I want to go a bit deeper. So I think it's incredible. And I remember I see that some of them are here listening. That says a lot about the attitude or the mindset that we need to create, and be intentional. I think is one of the things that I always say. Beautiful. One more question for you. Obviously, we cannot walk away without talking about AI. No?
Yes.
Okay. So what do you think that the role that plays in what the role of AI is playing, especially, including MBA and everything. So what do you think about that? Because I see that you've included in your project and everything, but now obviously, how much value do you think it will add to a program or something?
Yeah, 100%. I would say it's significant value. It's going to change the way we work. It already is. But there's a deep caution that I put forward as well. So, I'm very optimistic about the use of artificial intelligence in business, and, the learnings we can get from an MBA and through other AI courses to help us apply it. But while I'm optimistic, I'm also very pragmatic, very cautious about how we can use it. And the way that I always like to think about it is start with the problem, become obsessed with the problem or the challenge or the opportunity that you have. So spend most of your time framing exactly what that challenge is, and then work backwards to the technology. So don't start with AI and say, where in my business can I plug AI in to make the business better? But start with, where is the biggest problem in my business, or where is the biggest opportunity? And then think very carefully what the different use cases are, and how you could hopefully solve that problem in a very innovative way, and then move to the technology to say, well, is there a way that I could use AI or you know, whether it's AI or a different technology, maybe it's blockchain or maybe it's cloud or Internet of Things. And can I use that technology to solve that problem I'm setting out for faster, better, or smarter than I could just by myself? And if the answer to that is yes, then it's probably a good use of AI. And if the answer is no, then you're probably, you know, it's like trying to use a hammer to find the nail type of thing. So rather focus on that problem, become obsessed with the challenge, and you'll figure out a way that you can use AI in a more meaningful way by that method.
Yeah, I love the sentence that you said, you know, fall in love with the problem, not the solution.
Yeah.
Right? There's a great book out there as well, written by the founder of Wise, the maps. Yeah, I think it's a great book that, you know, I've read it a few times, so it's good. Tim, we're gonna wrap it up here. So if there was one final thought that I don't know, people, for example, I don't know, myself included, that we want to undertake this journey of growth, learning, and taking ourselves to the next level, what would it be?
So this one, just by coincidence,
I'll write it down. All right, okay.
I have a quick slide on, and it's a lovely quote that I often like to talk about by an old philosopher that said, "Talent hits a target no one else can hit, but genius hits a target that no one else can see." And I think the message there, the key learning that I take away from an MBA journey like this is, you know, try to look where no one else is looking, and search as far as you can to look for very interesting targets, very interesting ways that you can apply your learning slightly differently to the conventional way. And often what you come up with might surprise you, and it'll probably surprise your classmates, your professors, your lecturers. And there's a good chance that you can take those learnings and apply them in the workspace to come up with something amazing that no one else has ever seen before.
Well, that's a great way to wrap it up. So thank you very much, Tim. Well, we're gonna be here for questions at the end, so we pass it over to Manuela. And if any questions, just type them, and then we will answer at the end. Manuela, over to you.
Good afternoon. Good evening, everyone. Hi, Tim. Nice to meet you again, and James as well, and Taisha. So I'm an international mission team manager in Ziggurat, and today I will present you briefly the master program, how it's working. We do just an introduction to the program. So the duration of the master is 1 year. Usually the program starts in November, fully online. It's structured in 4 blocks, plus the master final thesis, and we have a real-world a practical approach. We have covered strategies, technologies, operation, innovation, and AI. We have a continued feedback and mentoring by the lecturers. If you go in the next slide, let me walk you through the roadmap of the Global MBA in Digital Transformation with AI. So this program is designed to guide you from foundation transformation with AI. So it's knowledge to real-world applications structured across 4 strategic blocks. Before starting, you will have access to the virtual campus on Canvas, along with the introduction courses from AWS and IBM, and the module 0 led by Basha to prepare you for what was ahead. So in the first block, shortly, we focus on building your digital foundation. So we're exploring how to disrupt the status quo and leverage innovation and AI to rethink business strategies. In the second block, we dive into implementing a comprehensive digital transformation strategy covering cybersecurity, IT, governance, operation, optimization, marketing, financial sustainability. In the third block, we look to the future. So we're training you, lead the change, manage device teams, and explore emerging technologies such as AI, blockchain, and quantum computing. And finally, in the fourth block, the fourth block is entirely project-based. So you are applying everything you learn and developing and presenting a real digital transformation project as your master final thesis. So through the journey, you have the support of top industry experts, receiving mentoring, continuous feedback to ensure your growth and success. If you go in the next slide, we have an idea of the learning outcomes. So just to detail some, we have a double degree with the University of Barcelona. It's a real digital transformation project, hands-on learning with AI, blockchain, and cybersecurity, You're boosting your leadership with AI, blockchain, and cybersecurity, but you're boosting your leadership innovation mindset. As Taisha told before, we have access to a global network of more than 20,000 alumni from 120 different countries. You have live classes and virtual campus. You have a personalized support for international faculty, advisor, and mentor. And important, you're a global networking event, a lifelong alumni community access. So just to not to identify more this part, so the Global MBA is much more than a program. It's a transformation of both your career and mindset, because you will learn a double degree from Zigora Institute and another from University of Barcelona. You will work on real digital transformation projects. We are applying AI, blockchain, and other disruptive in technology to real world scenario. In Zigora, the learning journey is designed around you. So here you are never alone. Our dedicated team of lecturers, academic coordinator, and student assistant will support you through all the program, but you will collaborate through the virtual campus powered by Canvas, so you work in real case study and engaging in practical projects. So the strengthening of the leadership and innovation skills. And finally, you will join our global community, and but behind the classroom, Zigora offers networking events and lifelong connection, so you can create a valuable professional relationship worldwide. If we go in the last slide, we understand a little bit more your career opportunities, because here we talk about leadership role. So the Master MBA is a program that boosts the career. It's a program that helps you to go more in executive and board level, such as CEO, CIO, CDO, or digital strategy leader. We have a career, so you have the chance to career shift into digital transformation and more in AI roles, such as entrepreneurship and business innovation, but important is a real business impact as cutting-edge technology, tools, and technology. So if you graduate from our MBA, we prepare you for top leadership roles, such as I told you before, CEO, CEO, or so on. If you're looking to pivot your career into AI and digital transformation, this program equips you with the necessary tools, practical experience, and certification. For entrepreneurs, you are gaining the knowledge and the skills needed to create and scale your own digital business, but additional, you are gaining access to cutting-edge tools and partnerships, including ABM and AWS at the beginning skill builds. And ultimately, this program empowers you to create a real business impact, lead digital transformation, and navigate the technology in order to shape your future. Okay, so this is a brief presentation in what the matter is about. You learn about a team is a practical experience as alumni, but this master is a program that definitely will help you to change your mindsets and come in the innovation. So thank you, everyone. If you have some question, we are here in order to provide you more information. It's me, Tim, and James.
Thank you, Manuela. Thank you so much. Also, thank you, team, and thank you, James. So let's move on to the Q&A session. I saw some questions here, but James, if you want to help me, I really appreciate. I saw one question from Carlos. Carlos is on fire here because he asked where you were. I think it's 14, this one. No? Where you were adding these sensors in order to extract the correct information anytime during the whole supply chain. And then
Yes,
Carlos also question. I will do the both questions because you feel free to answer, team. Sorry. And which are the main three KPIs that you are providing to your customers with this project?
Thank you. So nice questions, Carlos, and maybe I'll answer them at the same time. I think they're quite related. Regarding the sensors, so they're small IoT devices. They're about the size of your AirPod case or like an Apple AirTag in size. And what we did is that we installed them onto the cargo itself. So if you're transporting pallets of fresh produce, or maybe it's boxes of e-commerce products that you're moving around from location to location. You can install these devices on those pallets or inside those boxes, and then you monitor the cargo from point to point. So everywhere it goes, whether it's in the air, it's on the sea, maybe it's on the road or on a train, on rail, you're able to track the products that you're moving from place to place. And the other thing is that you can install these sensors on the goods, the cargo, or on the assets. So if you have returnable assets like containers, where you ship it from one country to the next, but then you need to return that container afterwards, you can keep track of your container. Or if it's just products that are moving from place to place, at the final stop, you can sort of remove the product and take it off and take it back to the starting line so that it can follow the next shipment around. So, the device really follows your shipment everywhere that it goes. And because it has lots of different sensors inside it this maybe relates to your next question, and I'll tell you why, is because it maps not only the location, but also the conditions. So temperature, humidity, ultraviolet index, shock or tilt of the objects are all some of the different metrics that it can track. And I think that relates to your second question on the key KPIs. So what are some of the 3 KPIs that we would provide our customers with on this project? And I would break it down to maybe 3 main categories. So it would be your location, number 1. Number 2, it would be your condition. And number 3, it would be risk metrics. So on location, that one's quite straightforward. You have a real-time map that you're able to see the location of your goods. And based on the insights that you can incorporate through AI, through that data triangulation that I mentioned, it could be the weather conditions or the traffic conditions or maybe crime incidents that have occurred. You're then able to get better recommendations on your route planning. So in real time, you can adjust the route a little bit like you can imagine Google Maps or Waze, some of those apps that will help to divert you around traffic. You can do that for your entire supply chain with this system, which is really, really great. The second one I mentioned on condition. So there's some examples of clients who are in the pharmaceutical space. So they're transporting very sensitive medicine. And some of the vaccines, as an example, that they need to transport need to be kept in a very specific temperature band. So you could say, this vaccine has to be between the temperatures of 0 to 3 degrees Celsius, almost at frozen levels. So you have a cold chain that you're able to track. And in the software for the system, you can also predefine a rules engine that says as soon as the temperature has an excursion that goes beyond 4 degrees or 5 degrees Celsius, I need to contact the driver immediately to check that there hasn't been an air leak. Or I need to make sure that we get an emergency vehicle sent to this location to make sure that it can get kept cold in a refrigerated environment. So those are some of the KPIs we looked at in the condition space. And then finally, risk. This would be things like tampering. So if you have, there's one of the bigger sensors that fits on the back of a truck, and it's like a lock. So it's a lock mechanism that has a sensor built into it. And if someone tries to tamper with that lock, if they try to remove it or try to cut it with bolt cutters, it sends an alert immediately to your supply chain manager that notifies him that something's gone wrong with your shipment and there's a risk alert that's been triggered. And as a result, you can have a next best action that you implement to look after, make sure that your goods are delivered on time and in the right condition. So those location, condition, and risk factors are probably the most important KPIs that we would track.
Perfect. Thank you, Tim. James, if you want to do some comments, feel free, okay?
There's not much I can comment on this because I think he knows the project inside out. And I think all I can see that you do an incredible job, and I think you've got everything figured out. So I think that's great.
Yes.
So.
And I saw another question here, like any challenges incorporating the learnings from the MBA program to the thesis, forming that structure?
Yeah,
I
so happy to share on this one, and I think this is probably one that James can share some reflections on as well. From my perspective, when I was taking on the learnings from the different MBA modules and then working towards my thesis that I submitted at the end of the MBA, I would always try to have an idea in my head for each module how this applies to the topic. And luckily for me, I decided quite early the type of topic that I wanted to focus on. Which I'd recommend if you're able to. Mine happened to be something completely different to supply chain. It was more in it was also an Africa related challenge, but it was around media streaming. So coming up with a media streaming business, a little bit like Spotify, you could imagine, but to solve the problems of poor connectivity and poor artist remuneration that are two big problems on the African continent. So I'll try to take away some key learnings from each module. And I just had a bit of a notepad that I'd keep a record of ideas or ways in which I thought I could apply those learnings, or sometimes it would be a new technology or a new business model. And some of those ideas I kept, and I developed them further into the MBA. And some of them I left. You know, an idea can sometimes just be an idea. It helped to stimulate my thinking, but it helped me at least to go from, I often talk about divergent thinking, coming up with many ideas, to convergent thinking, finding the best possible ideas and developing them further. So that was the process that I worked through. And yes, there were some challenges, but the path kind of emerged and made itself as I went. James, I'm sure you see this all the time with some of your students. How do I apply these learnings from, you know, an MBA environment into a thesis that I'd like to publish?
Well, I think one of the things that you said earlier, start the thesis as soon as you can, or start thinking about it. Because once you figure out what you want at the beginning, and then, okay, as you are learning new ideas, new frameworks, as you mentioned earlier, you think, okay, and always ask yourself a question: how can I implement this in my thesis? I don't know whether it's the first one we talked about, how to have this entrepreneur's mindset, no? So, okay, what kind of people do I want to bring together? What kind of mindsets, no? So, okay, so I want the people that they have, I don't know, learning, growing, creating, challenging mindset. Okay, boom. And then the next one, for example, I don't know how to create the team and then marketing as you go along and say, all right, this is where I am. How can I implement or apply the learnings? I always say one of the things that we talk about, learn by living, right? Living the experience, because that's the only way. The theory on itself is just, it's nothing. But when you implement it, that's when you learn more. So, I mean, just to add to what you said, just think of the thesis, you know, the final project that you want to work on, create the team around, and just go after the teachers, lecturers. Be a bit hey, at the end of the day, all right, don't make our life easy because I teach and I'm off and I get paid. No, when I'm a student, I'm a pest. I'm paying for it. I'll go after them, really, until they say no, and I go again and I go again. And that's how you build a relationship, and that's, you know, how you build the grit, in a way, the resilience and stuff. Just go after. And then also shows when someone asks me, it's after me, said they really care. I really want to help them more. And then 100%. You do that really good. You're a pain on the backside sometimes, but it's amazing. That's the best thing that we could do.
That's how to make the most of it.
Absolutely.
Perfect. So unfortunately, we need to end this session because we are out of time already. We have another question here. Let me see, the last one. What electives can you incorporate into the MBA? I have an interest in smart city development as a real estate fund manager.
Well, this one, I mean, I'm not sure what the
Manuela,
it's up to me, James. I think it is better to explain. Okay, so the master in MBA in digital transformation offer several elective and specialization areas that align with your background and interest: smart city development and real estate fund management. So while the core of MBA focus on leadership, digital strategy, or emerging technology such as AI, you complement with elective advancing module in other master program. So we can think about the Global Smart City Management. If you prefer a more technical, we can talk about BI Management Smart City, or the last program that we have that is in AI in architecture and construction. So all these topics can help you deepen your knowledge in smart city project or in real estate digitalization or in urban infrastructure investment strategies. Okay, if you would like, we can have we can provide you more details and personalize the program that fit better your professional goals.
Thank you, Manuela.
Welcome.
So I will close the session now. A huge thank you to Tim and James for sharing their valuable insights today. It was really interesting. And for me, this 1 hour passed like really, really quickly. Thank you so much, Tim. Thank you, James. Thank you, Manuela. And of course, thank you all for being part of this session today. Let's stay connected. Don't miss our upcoming events. Until then, take care and see you soon.